I'm sitting here. There's your answer.
This is Community Board 2 Landmarks Committee meeting of the first of two for the month of December. And we have 5 applications, and there are no layovers since the published agenda. We'll have the presentations, questions from the committee, members of the board, and then the public. And after the presentations, there will be a business session for the members of the committee only. Others are asked to stay if they wish and only can speak if they're invited to at that time. The first application is 38 Bedford Street to replace the front elevation windows in an alternate material. Eugene, if you will give us the person.
Yes. Okay, I am promoting Keith Buckley to panelist right now.
I'll be next door if you need anything.
Thank you, Mark.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Keith Buckley. I'm going to be presenting 38 Bedford Street. We're looking to do alternate materials for the front
Would you
facade.
speak up just a little, please?
Yes, we're actually doing a just windows on the front facade of 38 Bedford Street. And this is going to request for an alternate material. You guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm going to
I
share my
would just ask, when you do the comparable pictures, there's so many of them, concentrate on the ones that are row houses that are proximate to the subject property.
Perfect. That's absolutely. So let me share this screen here. And I'll go presentation mode.
Can you do full screen with
Yes, that going in presentation mode now here. So 38 Bedford Street, I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with the area. Basically, we are kind of on the very edge of the kind of historic district extension boundary. This is the 1940 picture. We are an altered federal style. That being said, is what we have done is the federal style traditionally enters into the first floor. This one has been altered to go into the basement level. And there's also been an added floor onto the top of the entire building. So basically what we're trying to do is we're going to be replacing the windows with 6/6 windows. And what we're doing is looking to do this in an alternate material. And the reason that we're kind of a unique scenario is because we are on the edge of the district and we've been significantly altered from a standard federal style house. The color of the windows we're proposing are gunmetal, which has been approved. And these are the details showing the differences between what's currently there, the overlay of the fiberglass, and also the overlaying of the existing. So there's some very slight details that do change from the typical historic profile. This will show you the difference between the profiles. There's a little bit more of a traditional versus the existing brick molding, which is there, which just has one bead around the outside of the window. The storm windows are going to be getting removed. And in the end run, what will end up happening is we'll have a 6/6 going through the first, second, and third floor. And this is on the left-hand side is the existing. Just to give you an idea of the context of the street, this is just the street of 38 Bedford. And what it is here is we've got all the kind of existing windows where all the entrances, just to show all the entrances are coming to the traditional first floor. And instead of going into the basement, which is ours in the center, it shows going into the basement and then another one going up to the first floor. So we're a little bit of a kind of unique scenario. And then we have the look going down towards 38 Bedford Street. and then the look going looking back towards it as well to give you a context. Everything on these images is kind of on the historic district side. Everything across the street, for the most part, on this lower right-hand side, you can see where we are and what we're facing for that historic side. And then kind of a breakdown of the costs on the windows. And I know Landmarks doesn't really care about price, but just to give you guys an idea of the difference of cost of materials, for aluminum clad, we're looking 50% more. Wood, we're looking 40% more, and then the required maintenance over time. And that's pretty much the rundown of the overall project there.
All right, thank you. Questions from the committee?
I have one. Anita, please.
Well, I'm not crazy about it, but beside that, I was wondering if you had considered not using are these like the plastic ones, the recycled plastic?
They're not plastic. These are fiberglass. It's a newer technology versus the vinyl is what's typically the plastic. Unfortunately, I don't have the pictures of the corner samples yet. Could send those to you guys as soon as I get them tomorrow. I could take pictures of the two kind of right next to each other. This does have a very kind of, it looks more like metal and reacts and is more like a metal clad, aluminum clad.
My question is, what about using an authentic wood brick mold? Because that really does not look like a wood brick mold. That's like...
Yes, that is a rendering of it. Once I get the photo. So this is kind of
I'm looking at the detail, the drawing. That doesn't mean anything because I can't see all the lines. The drawing means something to me. Yeah.
All right, 1 second. So the detail difference is on the traditional brick molding, which we have a storm window on there now. The real difference is yours has a bead currently, and then it's just the wood over. It could be an option to do the wood over the fiberglass window so that we get the same profile.
I would recommend that.
Okay. Definitely noted. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Is the color for the fiberglass units integral or is that applied?
It's a integral.
Standard integral color.
Yes, it will basically it will hold its color pretty much forever. So we're lacking trying to get rid of the maintenance part of a wood window, very similar to an aluminum clad. So it'll hold that material color for a long time.
So you say that they're going to be removing the storm windows or storm panels, but you will have a screen on the outside?
There will be a screen on the outside, which I believe, let me double check. Did we do the screen on the inside or the outside? Yeah, we do have a screen going
to be on the outside.
On the outside, which will only be the lower portion.
Because these are single hung windows?
They're double hung.
Double hung, so the top could be open and you're not going to screen it?
It's going to be screened pretty much it's going to be a shifting one that can go up and down.
All right, that does not compute. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I just know that, that screen is going to obscure the historic character of the windows if it's not covering the entire window.
It's not historic.
I can have
it's camouflaging that, yeah.
So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that we are on the very edge of the historic district, facing a non-historic district side. And I want to emphasize that we're very altered already as a federal style. So we could say we're a historic building, but we've been changed dramatically with the entrance going into the basement and the addition of the floor.
Neither of those would enter into our consideration.
Yeah, I have a question.
And the fact that the building has been altered is all the more reason to do as much as can be done.
Yes.
Bring it back. So those are just not two things we'll consider.
Yes, and also at the same time, we could, if you're preferring a screen full height, that is no problem at all. We can definitely do the full screen.
Are there other?
Well, I just have one brief question. I just want to make sure I understand correctly. I would like to ask the applicant if I'm correct in understanding that your justification for these non-historic type windows is that other interventions have occurred to other aspects of this building, but not to the windows, right? I mean,
well, the original, I mean, overall, the original, let me go back to the original 1940s. So obviously 1940s, the windows didn't, you know, they're 1/1s like what they had in the original 1940s, but this was altered where we're trying to bring back some of the historic character by putting the 6/6 lights. So we're kind of doing the 6/6 and just trying to request, because the cost difference for 6/6 lights versus wood, aluminum clad, and then fiberglass. So we get the historic 6/6 windows versus having one light over one, basically a 1/1. So
okay,
at the same time, while we're requesting a different material, we're bringing back historic context by putting the 6/6 in there.
Thank you. There's nobody else on the committee.
I have one thing just for my notes, please. The surround, you've represented that it's a more historic design than the one that's there, and the small modification you've agreed to will bring it even closer to
I would say it brings it a little bit closer, yes. So it's, and I can get you more detailed pictures of that so the committee can review it and take a look at it as well.
Thank you, everybody. If Susan, it is finished, yes.
Okay, if there's anybody from the public who wishes to speak, no, okay. Is there anybody online from the public who wishes to speak? All right, we don't see any raised hands. So I think that's it. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much for your time.
Sure.
Thank you.
The next is 35 Bethune Street, the application to install new entrance infill. The description has been offered because it's literally replacing the infill in one bay of a multi-bay facade. When you're ready, please.
Okay, so I've elevated Stephen Conti.
Oh, you're the applicant? Oh, hi, okay. So please.
I'm 34 West 12th Street.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
All right, do you have your?
It's here in our room. We have.
Okay, sorry about that.
You don't have it on your system?
It's the applicant's responsibility.
Okay, I have it with me on that thumb drive.
On a thumb drive, all right. Eugene, the applicant has his presentation on a thumb drive here.
Oh.
It might, do you think that you might be able to screen share it to make it a little bit?
Or should we get?
Or we'll get Mark. Let me see if Mark can facilitate this.
Okay.
I'll go get.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll have that something set up soon.
I didn't know how you do things these days.
Not terribly complicated.
Yeah.
Pickwick House. I like the sound of that.
It's a Pickwick paper.
Nice. Yeah. I see all these proud owners standing in front of their doors.
As a matter of fact, that is one of the original owners who is now the board president.
Oh,
it's still there.
You've got a thumb drive but nothing to put it in?
Hey, Mark, I actually put it up. If this is the same as the one that's on our website.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
So you have to.
Good enough.
Well done.
Does he have to tell you when to move it forward? You'll have to tell him then.
Okay, Eugene did that all last night too, so.
Okay, thank you, Eugene.
Okay, no
And
problem.
thank you, Mark. Okay.
So you probably all know the Pickwick House.
You have to speak so they can hear you in outer space. Make sure you speak into this microphone here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also so they can see you. You might have to sit down and just talk it
It's gonna be
through.
a lot much better.
Can everyone see the presentation okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, you're probably mostly familiar with the Pickwick House. It's an 1887, 1886, 1887 loft building. It was originally a cabinet company for the Beale Cabinet Company that manufactured, among other things, display cabinets for the Smithsonian Museum. So the ground floor was used to bring materials, lumber in, cabinets out. And so the doors would have been large. We're proposing modifying the center bay, which is the entrance to the building now. There is no other entrance. There's no back door. There's no service entrance. It's surrounded on three sides by adjacent buildings. So this door has to be practical, and it has to be large enough to bring.
Could we get to the slide that shows what you're being talked about? I think just go forward.
Okay, next slide. The images at the top are historic images. We found quite a bit of material on the building. And the photograph, the tax photo at the top left, gives a pretty good impression of the ground floor of the building. Over the years, it changed, but it always has been the primary entrance for bringing material in and out of the building. And in later years, it was the location of the Pickwick Paper Company, and that's where it got its current name. But guess this doesn't. That gave us good historical background on what the ground floor had originally been. When the building was converted into condominiums in the 1980s, all of that was removed. And the photos at the bottom left, the two there that show one of the current owners standing in front of the still surviving storefronts. We know that they were there up until the 1880s. Not in perfect condition, of course, but they were there. And
1980s.
Oh, yeah, 1980s. Thank you. And so that gives us a historical basis for restoring a reasonably accurate storefront there. And the door shown in the bottom right photo is one on Greenwich Street in Tribeca, which is a historic example that we looked at more for the dimensionality of historic doors. And it's a reasonably approximate example of the kind of doors that we see in the photographs, the historic photographs. So we're pretty confident that this is along the lines of what was historically there. And that's what the board wanted us to do. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, perfect. Okay, the top three photos on the left show what was approved by the Landmarks Commission in the 80s, which was at the time standard Conair aluminum storefronts with no historical reference whatsoever, as far as we can tell. And that's what remains today. However, the two storefronts at the left and right open on a unique feature, the kind of thing that architects were doing in the 80s. It is a double height atrium. It's unconditioned space that brings light and air. The air comes through those black sidewalk grates, and it provides light and air to the two apartments on the front of the building down there. That's a decision that the owners of those two apartments made, that they do not want to change the glazing on the outer bays. So this only applies to the center bay where the entrance is. And it's not particularly closely related to the storefronts, as you can see in the upper right photo. There's an awning that was approved by Landmarks maybe 10 years ago. That's not changing. And the middle photo on the bottom shows the aluminum storefronts with applied wood moldings. Nothing, in my opinion, particularly special, but it was an effort to make it look somehow more historical. The bottom right is the intercom that would remain. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. This is the plan showing demolition, and a lot of the reasoning has to do with this current design. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see everyone, but the vestibule now has a mailroom and a janitor's closet on the flanking sides. Those are fully enclosed sheetrock partitions. They block a lot of the light, and they block the vision, the sight lines from the lobby out to the street. Nobody likes that. So one of the goals was to eliminate the vestibule and to find a better solution for the packages. And of course, we get a lot of packages now. So the proposal takes those into account. Next slide, please. So this shows a single plane of wood storefront matching the historic. And the brown areas on the left and right are cabinets below the windows that would have electric latches tied into the security system, so that that would minimize security issues with deliveries. And then the rest of it would be glazing, picking up the historical configuration, and a pair of new, wider, higher wooden entry doors patterned in detail after the one that we showed before. And then there are the mailboxes are recessed into that area on the top left, so that this eliminates the need for a mail room. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the facade, and the facade is pretty much totally intact. The windows have been replaced with historical wood windows. It has the original cornice with the 1887 date up on top there in the center. It has the Connier storefronts on the left and right. And then the area of work is just the center bay. And that is defined by two original cast iron piers, which would be unchanged. Next slide, please. So this shows the proposal that's based on the historic precedents of wooden doors in the center and flanking glazed areas with matching bulkheads at the bottom. There would have been closed bulkheads here because of all the deliveries coming and going. You wouldn't want to have glass at the lower part of the doors. And then there's a transom because, of course, light and air would have been important in a manufacturing building. Next slide, please. Here's a close-up. So there are 8-foot doors, which are more appropriate to a loft building and closer to the historical. And then the two panels on the side are fixed glazing that allows light into the lobby, and also sight lines from the lobby out to the street. Next slide, please. The section at the left shows a fixed transom and a transom glazing at the top, and then the door at the bottom, which would be solid wood with a paint finish matching the current paint colors, are not changing. So that would be the primary entrance with electronic controls. And the image at the right shows the cabinets below the windows at the left and right bays where the mail room and the closet now are. They would be open to match the center entrance, and they would be for packages. Next slide, please. This is the recess where the doors are. The doors are set back similar to where they are now. There's a code provision about swinging across the property line. That's part of the reason why the doors are recessed. And also it gives you a little bit of protection from the weather. The intercom is shown in this image too. It just will be flush with the, next slide, please. These are details of the millwork. All the millwork is based on that historic example and the photographs. It's a robust door, very heavy to suit its historical background. Next slide. This is a plan detail showing the dimensions with the fixed glazing. The doors at the transom are shown here, and then at the two sides. Next slide, please. This is the section plan detail at the level of the millwork, and you see the two cabinets left and right, and the way they're integrated into the whole storefront. The lobby's not that big, so it was important to make good use of the space, and the dimensions of the storefront are coordinated so that those cabinets are actually big enough that you can have a reasonable size, package inside. Next slide, please. This is the plan detail at the base cabinets, and you see on the right-hand side the mail boxes.
So this is not so much a concern since it's inside. And
okay.
It really doesn't show, so if you just
okay.
move on.
We'll move along. That's just sort of the background for why it ended up this way. Here's a detail of the stores. Next slide. Next slide. The paint color remains the same, the dark green. Next slide. Next slide. These are just the downlights. They're very small pinhole downlights hidden in the top to give some security lighting.
Where are they?
They're in the underside of the recess above the doors. There's one above each door. They're very small, 2-inch diameter. That's all. Do you want to ask any questions? Back to, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. One is if you could describe the materials. We have the recessed door. These are wood doors.
Yes, they would be mahogany or.
And the side walls that are.
It's all mahogany or other.
The side walls on the outside?
Yeah, it'll be painted, however. It's all painted.
And you have, I see on the, above the intercom, you have a recessed panel?
That probably isn't going to happen. That was, we were hoping to bring more light in, but it's going to be hard to do. We probably want.
It was shown as a window, but it's not.
It's probably not going to happen. It's under discussion. But
then my other question is, two more. One is, did you consider ADA during this time of entrance?
We do. It's very hard to make a ramp
I know the difficulties. I'm asking, did you address it? And
Yes.
you're not able to accommodate it in this scope?
No, because we have vaults under the sidewalk, and the ramp would extend into the public property of the street.
I know all the problems,
Yeah.
sir. I'm just telling you, there are lawsuits that are rampant
Yes,
in our
I agree.
neighborhood. The other thing I would suggest, in my opinion, is that you provide enough room at the bottom of the door so that you could have a kick plate. You're very low down, your panel's very low to the ground.
Mhm.
And the lights above the door, I'm not sure why you took a 45-degree turn and turned these windows so they're now horizontal instead of vertical. At least that's what I
We have the rendering of the
that would be page 113. If you have that, it's basically the elevation of the new door and the, there you go.
Okay.
Going on up there. I don't understand why you would now have horizontal window lights instead of.
I'm not sure this is current. Can you go?
Yeah, I have a different description of it.
Yeah, I think that changed.
Single light.
Oh, well, that's better.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I believe an earlier rendering showed no multiple.
I'm sorry, that's.
Well, I don't have that in mind.
Yeah, I don't either. I have.
It's in the first couple drawings.
Yeah, it's on my page A105.
Oh, okay, the other drawing.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
you
right.
might want to correct that because eagle eyes over here, we'll pick it up.
Yes, we should know better.
Are you
That's
done?
it. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm
I
done.
have
Brian.
questions. You mentioned the intercom location. I thought you had said that you were relocating it, maybe updating it, but in the same location, but then.
It's almost the same location.
Right, on the drawings, it said it's all new wiring and new location.
It's a new intercom. Seidel is.
It was this year. But actually, Brian, if you want to hop to that, the one that's a section, this one shows the intercom.
107.
107, yeah.
Right, I see the new location. I was wondering, I didn't see the current location.
You can, it's inside the vestibule.
It's inside the vestibule, okay.
It's actually.
You don't have anything outside if somebody comes to if a visitor comes to your door?
This is outside.
The new one is,
the locked door.
I'm asking about the existing location.
No, the vestible's open.
Aha, okay. Well, then that's an improvement. Then you mentioned grills serving some apartments.
Oh,
fresh
yeah.
air or something.
That didn't sound too good from the street.
I couldn't find any grills.
This is a very unusual thing. I don't know how they got it through the building department back in the 80s. I don't know, but it's we're not changing any of that. There are in the second sheet of photos they show. They're actually pretty large. Yeah, okay, so there they are.
They are. Where would they be?
So is they in an areaway? They're down below?
Flat in the sidewalk.
On the sidewalk.
Oh,
They
okay.
just look like black.
Is this something that's being done? I'm lost.
Oh, there they are.
There they are.
Yeah.
That's actually an open grill.
But isn't there like an areaway underneath it?
There is.
Oh, okay, so that's pretty common in buildings around here. I mean,
But this is not to do with the application, right?
No, we're not.
What it has to do with the application is that we're asking about ADA accessibility, and normally you can get a waiver to put a ramp on the public sidewalk. This is probably one of those obstacles that makes it more difficult.
and it's only a 6-inch step up, is that correct?
It's 2 steps. We're not changing the steps. Those were.
But we have a mandate to ask questions about the current code. That's all.
Yeah.
2 steps.
Yeah, that would be a big improvement.
Okay, we'll put that in the resolution that we've called it to the applicant's attention.
Yeah,
Okay, that's it.
well taken, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Susan, were there other?
Nothing in the room, Chenault. I don't have any questions. I don't know if you or Eugene have any further questions.
Yeah, I do not.
Okay, is there anybody from the public who would like to speak? Apparently not. So I think we're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next application, 34 West 12th Street, to renovate the rear facade to include structural repairs at selected spots of the wall, retain existing brick and use existing brick as finished patching material, increase building height to 9 inches above the adjacent neighbors, power wash and clean the brick to unify the rear facade. When you're ready, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hard to read.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. All right, I'm going to share my screen. All right, can everyone see?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so this was an application at 34 West 12th Street, and we had applied before and approved from Landmarks to restore the original townhome. So all of this is new in the front, just showing it for context. This was the original, and we restored in pretty immaculate detail the 18th century Italianate facade. We brought the stoop back, got special permission from DOT, had to work with Parks Department, and all of this is in order with Landmarks.
I want to be sure you're saying that DOT has approved the
Yes.
revocable consent for the intrusion.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So there's no issue with the front. I'm just bringing it up as, history of the job. The issue is in the back. So as you can see on the left, this was the existing condition. There was an old extension that was built illegally, fire escapes. It had been kind of chopped up over time into 9 apartments. And here on the right is the finished product. Originally, we were going to keep this existing portion of the back facade. Landmarks had approved this 1-story extension at the garden level. However, during construction, there were some structural concerns. The engineer was brought on board, and I have his report at the end of this. But essentially what happened was we had to kind of spot repair along the way in the wall. And we used the same brick that was removed from the openings to fill in those repairs, and everything was power washed and cleaned. At the end, you can see up here kind of at the top, it's a few inches higher at the rear facade. However, the neighbor's railing goes a little bit higher. And I'm going to show you the row, because this row in the back, so we're at the end of the row. This is a photo taken from the roof. There's a few other built up areas that were approved previously. Here's another view of the brick cleaned up on the back. And here you can kind of see the next neighbor. The other one is kind of this modern glass facade. Here's another look down the row where we have several different facades and typologies all in the rear. All of the fronts match, but what Landmarks wanted us to resubmit was really to approve the partial rebuild of the rear facade due to some of the structural concerns. Here's an overall of the finished product. And again, it's almost not noticeable because the neighbor's railing goes higher and our railing is set back. And again, this is all at the rear facade. And here's the engineer's report from 2023. This was included in the presentation, but he calls out weak mortar joints, brick that was completely removed that would have presented a hazard if that wasn't rebuilt and repaired. So engineer filed repair drawings with Department of Buildings. Those are approved, and the job continued on. So I won't go through the whole report, but essentially, we're representing to Landmarks about this very slightly adjusted rear facade in terms of the height, which is right here. You can see the difference. And that was due to just the scaffolding and the repair. And then instead of keeping the old back wall, we had to do some spot repairs, replacements, and then use the existing brick and then cleaned it. And that's what we're going for, the approval at Landmarks.
You have a violation?
No, there's no violation.
Okay. Could we go to the rendering of what's being applied for?
Oh, these are built. These are photos.
No, I want to see the rendering.
Oh, there's no rendering.
Forward,
Sorry.
I think.
So this was a previous application that was approved.
But no, it's the rendering of what you're proposing now that I want to get to.
Page 14.
It's built.
It's built.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the elevation.
The elevation
was clearer.
Okay.
Page 14, yeah.
Here. So here's the elevation.
Okay. And now what at the top are you asking for now? Or if anything, that's new?
So the adjustment
what
here,
is new?
So the two things we're asking for is, instead of the original approval was to keep the top few stories with these 3-window dividers. Landmarks approved all the other openings on the bottom 2 levels. However, we had to do structural repairs.
Understood.
And yeah, so we have to go back to say that this was partially rebuilt.
And at the roof, is there any alteration?
The roof is already built, and
okay.
it's slightly higher by a few inches.
So it's really the repair and the things that are growing out of the repair that are before us now.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't think we have any objection.
Any questions from the?
No.
Nothing in the room, no.
Okay.
Is there anybody from the public? Nope.
All
So
right,
I think
great.
that's it. Thank you very much. Thanks for your
Thank
presentation.
you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Horatio.
The next is 83 Horatio Street. To excavate the cellar level, revise the design of the rear yard, install a new double height opening at the rear facade at garden level, replace iron gate under the front stoop and window guards at the front facade at street level, install new elevator overrun at roof level, and expand the existing rooftop bulkhead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all for sticking it out, 7:20. You can see my screen, yes?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, you just described the scope. This is it was a 1850s house, Greek revival. It's in pretty good shape. What you're seeing, this is a present photo. The house was renovated extensively in 2017, and some of you may recall that process, not by us, not by the present applicant, by the previous owner. Actually, while I'm looking at this, part of our scope is there's at the front, the previous renovation removed the window grills from the two front windows and removed the gate under the stoop. So we'll be proposing to bring those back. I can show images of that later. Just for context, we're at this is us at the very, very upper northwest tip of the district. And you can see in the previous survey, the original house was much smaller. If you don't mind, I'll be speaking a little bit about the pre-2017 project, only because I was instructed by Landmarks that you might be interested to see that history because it was a recent enough renovation. But cut me off at any time if you want to hear less. But here you can see on the left, this is an earlier survey. The original house was small, it was shallow. And then in 2017, they extended it out the back and renovated the rear yards, very extensive renovations. This is in context on the lower left. You can see we're looking from the south, right? This is 83 Horatio pointing to it. But you can also see along the back of this image is new construction, a lot of new construction in the last few years. And you'll see how that comes into play momentarily. These are the street views. The existing condition is in the middle. The 2017 renovation added has a rooftop bulkhead up here, and it added this the fourth floor addition. Our proposal is to extend the stair bulkhead to full width, and I'll show you the plan. So we're proposing a rooftop addition on top of the 2017 addition. Part of the reason I mentioned the 2017 addition is because at the time they applied, I believe, for a similar scope that we're proposing now. And I think the objection at the time was that the High Line was fresh and the views to our site from the High Line were prominent. But in the interim, there are no longer views from the High Line because of all the construction immediately to the north. I'll try to illustrate that in a moment. So this is us. We're at the very edge of the district. The red line is the district. You can see the 6-story and 5-story buildings to the north. Those are the new construction that block our view to and from the High Line. The existing neighbors are 4-story buildings. Ours is a lower building on the front, but we're proposing to match their height and then exceed it a little along the back.
In this drawing, when I was looking through it, if you go back to the plan of the right, it's correct that what is in white on the plan is below grade.
What is in white is below grade. Oh, in our backyard. Do you mean in our backyard? Yes.
It's a different color, and I couldn't sort of.
Yes. I'll clarify that.
Actually, just shy of the one next door to it.
Yes, great question. It's complicated. I'll show you in section in a little bit. Our rear yard in the 27 edition was depressed considerably to basement level, and we're proposing to bring it back up to grade to match the neighbors. I'll show you that in a minute. That's astute question. Existing conditions. In 2017, they repaired the cornice, they repaired the horse door, they did a lovely job. They repaired the whole facade. I'm showing here the railing because we'll be using that as a model for our proposed grille. And I'm showing you under the stoop, the absence of door. We'll bring that door back modeled after the existing gates. Only showing here the existing horse walk door has in the previous approval, it was upgraded, and they improved some of the sills and cornices at the windows. Okay, so this is our existing rear yard. So to your question, what you're seeing here is this level, and you'll note that it's all hardscape. There's no grass, except that there's these very large planters, and you almost can't see through the greenery, but then there's a fence that goes again higher, 6 feet. So we're quite sunk down. We're sunk down a full story. And so we're proposing to bring the backyard up again to match the neighbors. The line of the neighbor's yard is something like the horizon of this photo on the lower right. The top of this lower fence is near the grade of the neighbors. And you can see here on the left, the existing rear facade. Not to belabor this point, I'll just go quickly. What I'm showing here is that this outline in red in the upper right image shows the new construction here. So you can almost see this was the view from the north where you could see to our site prior to 2017. Today, you can't see our site at all. Just an historic curiosity, this was the building prior to 2017 on the lower right image here. It's an unusually small structure. Interestingly, the historic in the landmarks report, they actually mentioned the curiosity that in the original construction in the 1850s, there was an ancillary structure at the back of our rear yard, which is no longer there. Sorry, more of that. Again, this is the view from the High Line. You see the new construction. You do not see to our site. All right, let's go to our proposed work. So our proposal is twofold for the rear yard. On the left here is a rendering of the existing. We are proposing to change the lower 2 levels into a single glazed, combined glazed opening to bring more light to these, to the lower level. The lower level is, in real life, is a basement. We're trying to use it, and so we're proposing to bring more glass to the lower level. And then at the top, this is our proposed addition, a one-story addition. You can see the neighbors are already, they already exceed our height. When we build out our addition, we'll exceed their height by a half level. And
no competition.
What's that?
No competition.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So this is a little complicated, but you're starting to get the drift of it, I think. On the left was the original house. In the middle is the 2017 addition. You can see dashed in red the original house. They added out the back. They built up, and you can see a partial their stair bulkhead. We are then effectively growing the stair bulkhead. The image on the right is our proposal. Our proposal includes a new elevator, but it's not really germane to this review. It's just that the elevator overrun pops above the roof, but it's well below the sight lines. But I show it because it's part of our scope. And you can see our new rooftop addition. In the way that this elevation is drawn, it kind of dramatizes the screen that will block the mechanical units, but that screen is further back. I could show it. You almost can't see it. It's the screen that will block these mechanical units from the owner's view when you're on the roof. And I can show this in greater detail subsequently, but we're excavating the rear yard under the, I'm sorry, let's back up. This is the existing excavation in the middle, the existing excavation of the rear yard. We are proposing to excavate further to take advantage of this space underneath the rear yard. Because we're raising the yard back to grade, we have to do a bunch of site work anyway. We'll take advantage of that, of raising that, and get some space underneath. Here you can see. So on the left is the existing rooftop. It has mechanical units and the stair bulkhead. We're growing this. We're growing effectively the stair bulkhead across the full width, and we're moving the mechanical units to the upper roof. So what you're seeing above the line of the standing seam addition, that's our new addition. This is the same section. Comparative elevations. So again, on the left was the pre-2017, and the middle is the 2017 addition with the rooftop bulkhead, and our proposed addition, which fills out the width with that addition. A side view, same thing. Existing in the middle, proposed on the right. Small. We're also proposing to enlarge the lot line window down here. So here we're seeing just in greater detail the double height opening we're proposing. It essentially, it has a door at basement level, and then it has a door at garden level. So inside there will be a stair to bridge the split levels. And you can see here we're at this low grade, the original grade, and the grade of the neighbors is up here. So behind this view, the rear of the rear yard will be the yard will be raised back to grade. And so here in greater detail, this may be more detail than you're interested in, but and this obviously requires extensive development with a landscape consultant and so on. But what we're showing is that there's a skylight, a structural skylight to the cellar, and we'll be able to use some of this height to have deep soil here so we can grow proper trees and have proper grass across this raised area. There's some other nuance. There's a sort of cantilevering glass component here, but effectively the section is that there's a skylight at basement level, which then pops up to a new plantable rear yard. The neighbors have a really lovely trellis and sort of a sitting area in the back, and we hope to effectively match their that effect. The reason is that we're backed up against this one-story building, which sort of pours greenery onto our site. So we'll train their greenery onto the roof of our trellis and sort of make use of the shade that we inherit from them. Again, this is just we'll replace the gate under the stoop. We'll use the details from the existing rail to produce that, and the same for the window guards. We'll replace those essentially. And I don't have good high-resolution historic images, but I think if we cast and duplicate the historic railings, we'll do well there. It'll be black painted steel. We were able.
A question.
Of course.
In the middle, the window guard.
Yes.
They look terribly high.
Terribly high, meaning tall.
Yeah.
Interestingly,
are there examples that completely cover the lower part of the sash?
Actually, there are examples that it's an interesting question. The example that I was thinking of. Here, let me go to the historic photo. In the historic photo, they cover the window entirely, all the way to the top. Partially, I assume the reason is that perhaps these openings are partially below grade, and so perhaps they feel that it should be covered more substantially for security.
It's that it's that the partial ones are normally at the parlor level, and fuller ones at the basement level, and this. Understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in fact, historically, it was the entire height of it. I was thinking that would be overkill in this case, but I would entertain it if we needed to. But sorry. We were able today to build a mock-up on the roof to verify and determine that the sight lines would be what we think they will be. And so on the right, you're seeing photos of the mock-up in place. You can't see them, so the photo from the street doesn't show anything. But this photo in the middle is taken today at 12:50 of this rooftop mock-up to illustrate that there is no sight line to it.
It looks like the sky color is photoshopped.
Yeah, right. No, it was you. Well, were you outside today? It was much colder than expected and beautifully bright. So you get a little of each.
And that includes the elevator.
The elevator is, as you can look in the section, it's quite low. So it's,
I think it's lower. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's much, much lower than the rest. I didn't bother mocking it up because it's so small.
Right.
Actually, you can see in the lower right here, that's the existing bulkhead. And our elevator overrun is half the height of that. So that's my presentation.
Okay, are there questions from the committee?
I have a few.
Okay.
Was that for me?
Yeah.
One is, did you by any chance able to see any of the mock-up from down the street?
No, the reason you can't is you'll see why it's impossible.
No, I saw it. I was just curious if you actually tried to look.
Yeah, I tried. Because the neighbors are both taller, the geometry is such that there is no more favorable angle than straight across.
Well, that's good. I'm lucky you.
Yeah.
I do, well, I don't know, Chanel, do you want to do it in a systematic way? Or do you want to do it my way?
Let me call out the parts that I have, and if people have questions about them, I think that's a very good idea.
I'm definitely want to talk about
the first thing to consider then is the modifications at the front, which is the ironwork.
Yes, I'd like to talk about that. There are so many examples in our neighborhood of basement window grills. And you've come up with something that I have never seen before. And I don't care for it at all. It's cut off. It looks like somebody broke in, or there was an air conditioner in the top or something. So I think that's, you know, we don't like personal expression here. We want historic expression. So I think the windows are, for me, the window grills are a no-go. And I also don't care for the gate. I think it looks like you ran out of money. And it doesn't look very good, and it'd be very easy to break into unless you're locking it by a key. People just reach in and unlock it. So that would be my main criticism of your project.
All right, thank you. I think we can do better. We can, I was thinking, because these are effectively, I'm intending to replace whatever was there. If I could get my hands on the gate that they actually took down, I would install that. So I can do better to present it.
Well, just look around. There's a million examples, and none of them look like that.
Certainly.
Okay.
Thanks.
And the gate matching the railings and so forth is not usually an issue.
Yeah. No, I just thought it was an opportunity because we have some historic detail, but that's fine.
Well, they're not, the handrail, it has nothing to do with the window grills. They're not the same, typically. And there must have been running specials on the basement window grills, because they're almost all the same everywhere. So there would have been a good price point on those. But I would just try to be a little more, you know, so they don't draw attention to them. So
no, absolutely. If I can knock off a neighbor, I will. I want these to be just very at home on the block. I admittedly gave less attention to this because the rest of the work was more.
I understood. Yeah.
Fair enough.
And the rear facade, let's start with the building itself. The upper floors.
Yes.
Well, they're the extensions, but the upper floors of the original facade are not being changed. Is that correct?
Correct.
Two top floors. Okay. So are there questions and comments about the lower two floors, the parlor floor and the basement?
The top is being modified, Chanel.
Yeah, but as far as questions for the lower floor, do you have any?
Okay.
I do have a question.
Yeah, wow.
I wasn't able to find any stairs to get from the lowest level stepping out into the backyard up to get up to the whatever terrace level there is.
In the rear yard?
Yes.
I can walk you through the plan. So look at the top of this sheet. The door on the top is at basement level. There are steps directly in front of that to step up to the upper level of the yard. Do you see?
So the height of the steps is the one shaded area under the door.
The
Because
height
the
of the
dark line
steps
is
in the
great.
plan at the top of this sheet, you see there's 1, 2, 3, 7 risers. That's the steps that get you from the lower level to the.
Okay.
It's
All
not
right.
the level.
It's not shown in your rendering on sheet 1.12.
Or one.
Hold on. It is, you're just not able to see it in this view. What you're seeing on the left is existing. On the right is the proposed, but since we're at the back of the yard in this view, and we're looking past the raised area, it's below out of sight in that view. But anyway, if you like, we can produce a clearer rendering of those steps, but that's where they are. They're outside of that door on the right.
Okay, then no, and that's all I had for the lower levels of the back.
Okay, anybody else? I don't actually have any questions. Anita, do you have anything else?
Well, I mean, it's more and more and more and more modern, right? I mean, you got rid of every frame. It's just a piece of clear glass now almost. Am I reading it correctly? There's no very pared down, shall we say.
Yeah, it's a tension between wanting more glass, but I mean, we have an option, technically we have an option to make this one pane of glass. We've instead divided it fivefold in order to have some division, both as a reference, but also to maintain a little bit of the texture. It'll be black metal like the rest. But yeah, it's true. The panes of glass are larger than a divided light because we're looking to get more light in the back.
What I found, that's the usual desire. And the other is very historic in the way it's done. But what I found troubling about this is that it's divided a lot, but none of that division represents the three above. So the bottom just looks like it's plugged into a hole in the building, rather than somehow letting the heaviness fall in line with the space between the center windows and the side windows.
Yeah.
So it just ends up looking showroomy instead of somehow relating to the building itself.
Yeah, it's a good observation. It's difficult because of the function that we need to get from it. I need doors that are not 5 feet wide, but that are 3 feet wide. I need sliders that are not 12 feet wide, but that are so I was struggling with how to
that's a modern design idea. And I'm going back to the historic reference idea. So
yes.
They're automatically in tension.
Yeah, but it's an admirable and sometimes achievable goal to marry them at least somewhat. So I would try, but this was the best.
Are there other questions about the back wall of the building? Could we go to the top now? Any questions about that?
Yes.
We've settled the fact that it's not visible.
Yeah.
It's not visible, yeah.
All right, so I see the screens around the mechanical equipment in a couple of different ways. In the renderings, they seem to be very transparent, almost like you're not hiding the mechanical equipment at all. And then there's other renderings or drawings that seem to be more of a dense screen around the equipment. I'm wondering if you could show me what you plan to use.
Yeah, let me, I can explain, clarify a little bit. The railing around the edge, the guardrail that keeps you from falling, is a cable rail. It's steel with very, very thin cables. I can submit details of that. It's a detail that we use all the time that Landmarks has always been happy with. The screen that you're seeing, the taller screen, that won't be visible to anyone but the person standing on this roof. That's to conceal these mechanical units to the user, to the person that stands on this roof. We're not blocking the view of these units from space. We're only blocking it visually from this upper roof. So the rail that wraps around, you're correct. That one is very, very thin and transparent. The one that blocks it, it's a north-south line that blocks it from the view from the roof itself, is actually a visual screen. You won't see through that.
Is that to block acoustical?
It will also block acoustical somewhat. There's flanking noise, and there's, of course, the ambient sound of the city. Plus, these new units are incredibly quiet for how powerful they are. So I'm not so concerned with acoustics, but I'm trying to also block the acoustics, yes.
Thank you. So.
Thank you. Anybody else? Valerie? Okay, Chanel, do you have any other questions?
The garden then, which
yes.
involves the excavation.
Yes.
Are there questions about it?
Well, I just would say that it just concerns me, and it's not just your project, but the trend is to put concrete over all our backyards. And even though you may have a nice deep planter, it doesn't go back to the earth. Now you've got a drainage system that'll get overtaxed, and trees have real roots, and so you are getting more space, but we're losing shade and trees and the natural way of water going back into the earth. So it's not just you, it's a general comment, and you're doing it too.
No, I mean, our goal currently, what you see in the rear yard is all paved, and what we're proposing is to be almost all green. The retainage, we by law, but also because it's good citizenship, we can't send the stormwater to the storm system. We must retain it. So when I dig this excavation, part of that excavation, the volume that I excavate, is a tank to hold X thousands of gallons of stormwater to make sure that we accommodate that problem. That's not because I'm such a nice guy. That's the law.
Where does that go then when it fills up? What happens? Where does that go, that water?
I mean, this is true of all new buildings. It's detained so that it's released to the storm system later, slowly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
The excavation, is there any underpinning anywhere involved?
Yes. It's an elaborately engineered, and
where that is, please.
I can't precisely. It's under development. It will depend on, we have to take probes, and then we have to make negotiations with the neighbors so that everybody is happy and safe, and then we have to there's a whole engineering process. Once that's developed, we can submit a full underpinning plan, but I can tell you
tonight is the night we're hearing the application.
Okay.
If you'd like to come back with that,
I would rather not. I can tell you what I know.
Wait, I'm sorry, I haven't finished. We normally see exactly where it is, and we get an engineering report so that we're convinced that what we're approving is reasonable and is not going to cause harm to either the subject building or neighbors. But if it's not presented, we can't do that. So
Understood.
my suggestion is that whatever needs to be done to decide what that is done, and that you return with that part, and we'll add that onto this application.
Okay. I mean, I can report without the documentation. I can tell you what the plan is for the underpinning, but if you require the engineer's report, then I'll present that separately.
Well, and precise location. That's
Yeah, I mean, I can narrate the location, but
I just don't think there's enough for us to make a reasonable judgment about something, because excavation is a very, very sensitive
of course,
thing
yes.
to understand. So if we could leave that and January, if you can have it done in that month, that's fine, and we'll get it in the first.
When it's done, I'll present it.
So what we'll do is do everything else, and assuming you don't change anything, or if you change the grills, you come back with them and so forth. That's something that we would make a recommendation that they be thus and so, but not make that a condition. And then, but the excavation, exactly how that works and how it affects any property is important.
Of course, yep.
So are there other questions at all about the application?
None other in the room, no. There is a member of the public, Zach Weinstein is here, and he'd like to speak. And somebody else also. Let's see.
And Mitchell Tree, I will promote her as well.
Great, thanks, Eugene.
You can go ahead, Zach.
Hear me?
Yep.
Great. Yeah, my name is Zach Weinstein. I live at 92 Horatio Street, which is directly across the street from the subject property. I had a couple of comments. The roof addition, I believe, will be visible. I was actually tried to spend some time earlier this week looking at sight lines and was disturbed to realize that, in fact, there was no mock-up up there. I went up to the roof of our building and confirmed there was no mock-up. I'm glad the applicant put one up, but putting it up on the day of the hearing really isn't adequate. What I will say is that I believe that the addition will be certainly visible from Gansevoort Plaza and from the northeast portion of the plaza. Without the mock-up, it's a little difficult to say how visible, but you can clearly see the roof of 83 Horatio Street from that very public location. And they're really, I would really like to see some kind of visibility study for that angle. Also, in addition, this building, it's already got this one big addition on top of it, piling addition upon addition. I realize that, this street visibility may be limited. Again, it's going to be visible from Gansevoort Plaza, but it's getting a little ridiculous. I'm not sure where this ends. I would also agree with the committee's comments about the large rear window. I realize that there is very little public visibility of that huge rear window, but it seems to have completely ahistorical, has no historic reference to what the rears of these buildings traditionally looked like, and it does seem out of place. And then the last question, echoing what Chanel said, I'm very concerned about any significant excavation under these buildings. They are fragile. We have this long, tragic history of building collapses when people undertake ambitious structural excavations and they are not properly overseen, and would strongly encourage the committee, as I take it they plan to do, not to approve anything until there are detailed and vetted engineering reports on the situation you're dealing. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. All right, Anne, did you want to contribute?
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Could you go to page? It's LPC 1.12. Oh, the numbers are on the lower right. Yeah. LPC 1.12. Yeah. Now, to me, the one on the left, existing rear facade, to me, that it's perfect. I mean, it's perfect. And then I move my eye over to the next one and I see the glass. Now, my question is, consistently, does the rear facade have to be historic? If it does not have to be historic, then we don't need to look at it. If it does have to be historic, it seems quite obvious that it's not historic. But be that as it may, I mean, the one on the left, it seems that it was done. And the one on the right, is it 2 floors? Each what is it, floor to ceiling
The parlor
glass?
floor and the basement.
Yeah, because I'm not one of the experts, but I just don't see how you can call that historic. And if it doesn't have to be historic, then we shouldn't be looking at it. It's not, and it's not as easy on the eye as the one on the left. I don't have much to say about this, but it keeps coming up over and over and over and over again with the rear yards. So that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
So could I ask, since you're coming back, that there are more photographs of any possible vantage point, and that will settle the question of the visibility.
Yeah.
Up and down the street as well as where you showed it.
Maybe some orange netting.
We always assume what I would describe as the worst case view.
Yeah, the case that I hadn't considered is Zach's suggestion of Gansevoort Place because it's so remote. But it's an interesting question. There is a view corridor because
And
it's
it makes a
two-story
difference
buildings.
if it's a far distance or.
Yep. I'll check it out.
We just see what is accurate.
We can make I apologize that the mock-up is so new. I managed to get some people to put it there so that I could at least study it today. But obviously, we need to build a robust, complete mock-up.
Then
there needs to be orange netting on it.
We'll come back then with that as well as the basement thing.
Yeah, I just have one quick question. Will the mock-up include the orange netting that we're accustomed to seeing?
It's you're asking us to do it, so we will try to do it that way.
Yes,
yeah.
It's really hard to see. I see what you've done, and that it doesn't show in that picture, but it really helps.
Yeah, the difference is if it's built to stand, meaning to stand for weeks and for people, to view it over time, I need permits to make sure it doesn't hurt anyone. If I'm building it quickly so that I can quickly verify something, I can do it without permits. So I did it quickly to make sure, to my satisfaction, that it was as invisible as I believed it was. But I understand your concern. In
order to evaluate this, we really need to see it in the, commonly recognized format, and members of the public need to as well. And there is, as you know, concern from Gansevoort Plaza, particularly the northeast part of Gansevoort Plaza. So that would be great. Thank you. All right. I don't think there's anybody else.
Did everybody get a chance to speak?
Yes.
Okay. The next application is 271 West 11th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To provide new brownstone stucco entry steps, cast iron railing, new ground floor window entry doors, brownstone stucco door surround, cross header, and pediment, and to reconfigure the areaway. What I am unclear about, and would you please start by letting us know, is what are the modifications?
Okay,
We'll
second, I'm just promoting Thomas Hutt.
We're adding the modifications to last month's application for this.
Good evening all, Thomas Hutt. Nice to see you. Shall I start my presentation, Chenault, or should I
just be clear about what's new is really all we want.
I will, as I present. Shall I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. As said, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Let me just go back to the Zoom. Let me go to share. Here we go. All good now?
Yep, thank you.
Great. Okay, we're located at 271 West 11th Street between Bleecker and West 4th Street on the north side of the block. And we are renovating the front facade and presenting tonight to establish a new ground floor, parlor floor entrance with entry steps and stoop, the reconfiguration of the areaway, and the crosshead and or pediment and door surround for those entry steps. There's other work we're going to be doing on the project, but that will all be reviewed at staff level. This is including the cornice. So the only thing that we'll be talking about, I'll show you the rest, but the things that I'm to concentrate on are those 3 items. Is that
the entrance together with the steps and the areaway?
That's correct. That's good. So in front of you is a picture, a tax photo of 271 with its neighbor to the east 269 and to the west 273. It's an 1836 building constructed in 1836, originally Greek Revival. And as you can see from the tax photo here, it has a set of entry steps, a door, header, and surround, and a cornice. The ground floor windows adjacent to the entry are to the brownstone course that runs below it. Those have all changed when it became a multiple dwelling. Curiously, to the right there on East 269, that was a multiple dwelling as well. That's been renovated, very similar to what we're asking for tonight. A quick streetscape view above. 271 is sort of tucked in quite in the middle right there. But below, some existing conditions pictures, photos of the existing areaway, the basement entrance. You can see here the black door here, the 3 ground floor windows that have been changed. You can see the infill bricks just below it. And then, of course, the old door here with that infill brick as it is. There's the existing facade in context to its neighbors 269 and 273. There is the brick at the areaway. You can see down there's a brick wall with railing, and then there's a set of steps, which we showed that are down to the, basically it's a concrete areaway right now. What we're proposing is to reestablish a set of brownstone stucco steps, stoop, a pair of painted wood doors with glass transom, brownstone stucco engaged pilasters on each side of it with a crossheader, pediment crossheader, painted railing as handrails, and railing that closes down off the areaway on top of a low brownstone stucco base. We also on this can see that here's a picture of what we propose, the overall proposal for the project. I can just go briefly. At the top, we're going to take all the old cornice had been removed and had been filled in with brick parapet and is stuccoed now. All the windows will be replaced in the existing masonry openings. The ground floor windows will be extended down to the brownstone course, and a new set of doors, door surround, and entry steps will be inserted. An existing picture that we took of what it exists today, and a rendering of what we're proposing. What concerns us tonight is the lower portion, the entry stoop, doors, door surround, and the areaway. As you asked a previous applicant, we are with DOT. DOT has, in fact, we are at the public portion of it, so they have cleared this application in their review process. They're in the process of writing a letter of support for us to LPC. We should have that for the public hearing in January. Just some contextual views of the areaways, adjacent areaways, and the existing one in plan and in elevation. And what we're proposing to do, you can see our areaway in the middle is rendered with the steps up there, very similar to our neighbors in essentially the configuration and the actual design approach.
What is the number of the house of the neighbors?
To the right, which is east, is 269. And to the left, which is west, is 273. 273 is actually a combined building of 273, 275.
And which one are you copying?
We are being inspired by
Most of the power.
269.
Okay.
More detail of what we're proposing to do. The areaway will be in bluestone. There's a wood door into the basement. There are new metal grills on the windows that are at basement level with the replacement windows. And then there is a metal gate and railing sits upon a low brownstone base, and the railing goes up to the door surround and up the steps. Just a brief, quick building section through there. You just see the relationship below of the old basement steps into the basement and what we're proposing to do. You can see also at the top, we're replacing the brick parapet, the non-original one, with a new metal cornice. A few more details of what we're proposing. This is, again, out of the scope of tonight's actual specific application, but this has been a bit of our cornice study that we will discuss with staff. We're essentially putting in a new larger cornice that will emulate the one adjacent to 269. But you can see the comparison in the lower left-hand corner here between the two. Again, this is, so our proposed door surround and header is in the light gray below the cornice, and the setback railing is above. The stoop precedent we showed is next door. We are doing a few things ultimately slightly different than that, but that is, for better or worse, largely the inspirational design precedent. A few more details of what's going on in the areaway. The existing condition of the ground floor window and the proposed area we're showing to remove, the existing window down below, and our proposed work. The gate underneath the stoop will be a metal gate as well. Windows, again, this is for the package for landmarks, just shows the existing condition of all the windows and our window schedule, sills, details. And some stoop precedents that we are on the block. All the way to the left is 261, 259. There are two there. To the number 6 is 278 West 11th. Again, next door to us is 269 West 11th, and the stoop precedent doors of 269. Brownstone, the brick will all be restored on the front of our building, and then the windows will be true divided lights, custom-made windows with historic details, and painted black. That's my presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sure.
Chanel, do you have any questions before we go to the room? I guess not. All right, Anita.
Chanel?
Chanel, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, did you have any questions before we go to the room?
Not a question, but I'll just say it now. We will make an accompanying resolution recommending to the Department of Traffic and Transportation the approval of a revocable consent for the steps.
Okay, thank you.
And we just, and that often comes up much, much later, but it's better to have it now, and you'll have that as a companion.
Thank you.
This
Save
is
everybody some
not
time.
to go through the commission as it used to.
Right.
Okay, Anita.
I'm finished.
Okay, hi there. I have two questions. One is I'm trying to reconcile the level of the basement in the existing section,
Yes.
5 steps, and in the new section, there's 10.
We're going down there are steps inside the building when you get there, but we are going down to our basement is going down 1 foot.
So it's going to be a very deep hole right next to the street railing.
I think it's Not too deep. It's the exact depth as our adjacent neighbor.
10 feet, right?
No, this risers, it's about 5.5 feet.
And the other question I have is, I don't see much detail on your ironwork, specifically like the newel posts and so on. I don't know, maybe I just haven't found it.
It's there. No, we could blow that up, and that's a good recommendation. It's there shown on 15, but we can take and blow that piece of it up to show both the detail, the more precise detailing in the railing itself and the newel post and the connection.
I mean, does it swirl? Does it have a circular?
It is round it's round in plan. And I don't know if I could blow this up a little bit.
Well, there's no plan view either of it that I could see.
Let's see. So it does swirl there a little bit, but I think it's fair to say that we could articulate that specific detail in a larger drawing, and we'll do that for the hearing.
And also resolve, for example, where you, on the left side on the plan, it has a swoop and then it goes straight back and connects. That I think you have to think through a little bit more. The bottom step on the left side.
Yeah. I see what yep.
It's a weird, not a normal connection. It'll look weirder in real life even than the drawing. So
we'll do a little 3D of that whole area. I think that's fair to appreciate that statement.
Thank you. That's it for me. Thanks.
Thanks, Anita. Brian?
I have a question. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. The 269 renovation was, I assume, done recently enough that it was approved.
Yes.
Of the commission. So it's
yes.
Okay. Anything else, Susan?
Brian.
Okay, well, I just have to say that I think this is an extraordinarily beautiful renovation and restoration of this building to really bring it up to a great standard. So I really appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you. We're excited.
I second that emotion.
It's not a pretty moment right there on 11th Street. It's going to be more harmonious when we're finished.
Thank you.
And a lot of stoops are coming back, and we're terribly pleased about that.
Yeah, I know. I wish that DOT made it easier for us.
We have boilerplate sections for.
They don't make it easy on anybody for anything.
No, I know.
I admit it. I know
for that.
All right, great.
All right, thanks. Let's see if anybody from the public wishes to speak. I don't see any raised hands.
Well,
so I think that does it.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and everybody have a great holiday. I appreciate it.
And you too, and thanks for your lovely proposal.
All your work you do. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Does anybody, this is probably the shorter of the two meetings. So is there anything that needs to come to our attention? We did receive a reply about the Eye and Ear Hospital that is that they have had it under consideration for some time, and what I took is not very positive or nice, that there are a lot of things on their plate. There are a lot of things on everybody's plate, so we'll keep after them about it. But they've gotten our official notice. Anything else?
You know, Chenault, I read that letter maybe a little differently than you did. I read that letter from LPC to indicate that they were actually, going to really look at this, and that they were going to recommend the evaluation that we requested, and that we and so many others requested.
I was looking for more enthusiasm, I think.
Well, that's another matter.
You have to pay extra for that.
And they pointed out that it's also involved in permission to close hospitals, basically. outside the landmarks thing that they're, which could work to the, if it's not allowed to be closed, then it can't be torn down. So that's a great thing.
There's that.
Okay, we'll, again, Monday has got a lot of very tedious thing, including 3 violations, which I take is good because it means they're after violations.
Yeah.
One of which I had set in, so I take it as my personal project. If anyone would care to look at the candy store on 7th Avenue South, one of those leftover sections that's so tiny you can't believe it's a store, between Perry and Charles.
You like the barber shop too, I know. The barber shop signage.
And they were also famous already because they were having a pop-up thing with a truck and the thing and wanted to have 2 lines of people. And
they're quite popular on TikTok. Yeah, it's a TikTok thing. Yeah. All right, so shall we go into business session, Chenault?
Bedford Street.
No.
No, I don't see any reason to say yes. And I don't think that the fact that the subject property has had many previous interventions is, and that it's sort of on the edge of the district, are relevant justifications here. And that seemed to be what they were leaning on, but how is that really relevant?
And also,
you're in the district or you're not in the district. The rules don't, the rules don't relax as you get closer to the boundary of the district.
That should never have been mentioned. I can't think of any reason that interventions would come into play unless it was so intervened and changed that a proper historical restoration of one element would look funny.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not that's not the case.
That wasn't a compelling argument.
The thinking is a little odd.
Routine thing that's happened to it of really simplifying it only.
What were you saying, Anita?
I was going to say, the thinking to me is a little odd where you make it into divided lights, but you make it in a modern material or not a historic material.
Yeah, it's sort of like the front's beautiful and we're going to blow out the back kind of trade-off.
Yeah, and that to me is sort of, I don't know, kind of offensive. It's sort of like what you're going to give us this, but not what it really is about.
And as a matter of precedent, we have consistently asked for wood.
Yes.
Well, I do think this is one of those where just because you can afford to take the time to go to a hearing does not guarantee you a pass. Otherwise, everybody has to comply with these rules. So it can't just be lax because you went through the process. That doesn't seem fair either. So if they either change the rules or stick to it.
Yeah, agreed.
Great.
Everybody, Valerie, you agree?
And we sometimes recommend things that aren't the rule, but for a good historic purpose. And this is a non-historic purpose. So.
Right. Right. Okay, so that's a unanimous no.
Denial and change to wood.
Yeah.
Bethune Street to install new entrance infill.
Yeah, I thought it looked pretty good.
I didn't, in the end, I didn't see any. There were a lot of questions about how it was drawn, but nobody seemed to object to anything.
No, so it's an improvement.
Yeah.
12th Street.
ADA, though, I do think we should.
Yeah, can we say something about ADA?
Yes. What we say is that we recommend that ADA, I've got something I wrote, that the applicant consider ADA access, incorporating it into the work.
Yeah, especially because work is so expensive anything you do now, you know, putting in new doors, doing all this work, and then later you come back and you have to modify it again if that became a big issue. So it would be really good to at least have a plan in mind.
Yeah, we have some wording that strongly suggests that it be relooked at.
Yeah. Again, even if they don't build it now, they have a solution in mind for the future, should it come up, or just plan ahead.
And we'll be on record as.
Yeah. And it's not easy. Nobody said it's easy. It's difficult. Okay, so other than that, it's okay, right?
Yep.
12th Street. Oh, we're zipping here.
Am I correct that the 12th Street said that they had received the revocable consent?
Do they have a stoop? I can't remember.
I'm going to put that
I have to look it up.
that in because they've always come to us or to us formally through the commission. So I think we'll just.
I think they said they had. Now I'm looking at it. Yes, they have it. They said they got it.
And well, we can still recommend it based on what we approve because we might have approved something else.
Oh, yeah. No, this was a nice project. I didn't have a problem with.
This has not been to us before, right?
I can't remember. They start to meld in my simple little mind.
I think it has been. You're talking about 12th Street, yes?
No. I'll
Well, it
look
must
back
have
and
been.
see if we have one on record, then that's fine. And I'll note that. And if not, I will add a new one. So
Well,
that,
I think we need to research what our previous resolution
right.
was, because it had to have come before this committee, because the reason they're here now is just about that.
Oh, the structural.
The patching of the brick and all of that.
Which is one of those lessons where you think you're going to save by keeping the old, and it ends up costing so much more and taking so much time and being.
They didn't. No, we didn't hear this thing. You're absolutely right. We didn't hear the stairs tonight.
Correct. This was all about the rear facade.
This was the patchwork on the rear.
We have so many stoops at the same night.
I know, we're mixing them up.
Yeah, beautifully restored.
Yeah, this is very nice. Yeah.
Horatio Street. Certain things were done by the staff. Before us was the gate, the window guard, in the front, the gate and the window guard.
Yeah, no go. I thought they were very poor, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he agreed to study that some more. And
well, make them look like they belong. These are just weird. We don't need weird.
Right.
Weird is not historic unless it's historically weird.
I think, Chanel, the two important things here are our concerns regarding visibility, because there isn't a proper mock-up.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting my notes on the iron still. We want it to be more historic and more substantial. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Correct.
We don't want to reinvent it.
Basement and parlor floor windows. I think they're hideous.
What are we talking about?
well, the windows themselves are fine. What's proposed? Are we talking about just the grills? Grill work, I mean?
Yeah, the windows haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Where's the back?
Oh, you're moving around on us, Janelle. You're very strict.
Is there more for the front? Did I miss something on the front?
Well, I was going to comment how grateful I am to see the horse passage door preserved and really looking great, along with the little window above it. Everything is perfect there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to mention that.
Yeah, now we can go to the back, I guess.
And a nice railing too, by the way, with a little swirl. Just want to swirl that in. It's got a little newel posts, and this is the one where
that was no change, right?
No, it was done under different application. This is the one where we're dropping down the backyard and or raising it up. Sorry, raising it up.
Okay, first the windows, the two bottom floor windows.
Well, there's nothing good to say about it.
Well, except that we see this all the time in the back floor.
But we see it. I looked at a couple before. We see them as windows, not as window walls. At least the two I was able to pull up quickly.
We've seen it all.
We've seen it all. Yeah. I know. Yeah, but it doesn't mean. I mean, we're being asked with regards to any historic precedent, maybe of the late 21st century or something. 20th century. It's not old.
Well, I think when the void is so massive as it is in this proposal is where we really draw a line.
Well, these are like seamless. What do they call them when you don't have any glazing that's almost like without any frame? Or
yeah, I don't think it doesn't seem quite that extreme.
Okay.
I got to appreciate that more. I studied it and looked at the detailing and the different levels. The doors come out of the back at two different levels, one at the lowest level and one as a kind of an intermediate level. And so there's two sets of steps going up to the rear terrace. And the way that they worked in the skylight and the garden, and it's very, very thoughtfully done, or very intricately worked out in all of those details. But I agree with Chenault that it would have been at least to have brought down the heavier elements of the framing, even though they're in black metal, to line up with the windows above.
Shall we say to recall the historic condition of three windows?
Yeah, and to respect that rhythm.
I think it can be done.
Yeah.
Practically speaking, I think it could be worked into his total scheme. So I would suggest, I would go along with that.
Well,
and to appear less as a window wall.
Yeah.
It's different from a picture window.
Or a wall with windows, which is what we want. Okay, what else?
The garden.
Well, we don't have, I mean, you pointed out that we need more engineering information.
Right. Well, the design of the garden. What we didn't have was any technical information.
Right.
But if the design is okay and the technical information fits it, then it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it's fully landscaped back terrace. Beyond the skylight is a fully in plantings. So that was a plus, I thought.
Anita, what did you think?
Yeah, let's find out. Good.
So I think our concern there really is
turning it to the level of the other gardens is a plus and a neighborly thing to do.
Yes.
Even though it's from there.
I'll tell you, these back gardens can be very, very complicated because every garden surrounding it has a different height. So it becomes a really challenging engineering. It's almost like there's like a skyscraper underneath the ground. It may just be a little pin sticking up, but a lot of engineering goes into these backyards, perimeter.
Chenault, the other thing on this one is concerns regarding visibility and the lack of a proper mock-up there.
And that is to return.
Yeah. We can't evaluate it without knowing what it is.
Yeah, the assignment was to bring proper plans and studies for the underpinning, and in the meantime, we can stroll by.
Yeah, I mean,
you were trying to ask for the netting so that we can see it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll ask him to let us know when the netting is up for the pictures, so I'll go in person.
Well, also, because I mean, we don't need to add a hardship. We don't need them to have it up for the whole winter. We just need enough time to see it and then take it down.
It's meant to be up for a week or so the public can see it.
Yeah.
You get proper pictures and
just don't go and hide it, you know.
I think what I've done. So yes, those are the two things that he's to bring back. 11th, is that it for that?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
And are there any objections except for the newel post?
I just want to get back to the front here. But this is that's not, is that part of this application? Now I'm confused.
Yeah, it was the one that, what about the ironwork in general, including the
this is, I just want to, I mean, I think it needs more study. This is just the absolute minimal, and the newel post and how it meets, and it probably just needs some more.
Is it again more substantial?
I think it should be more substantial, yeah.
That was what.
Personally, yes, I say yes. Where's the other one? Now I'm getting confused.
In keeping with the.
Wanted more detail.
Okay. See, I can't find it here. Yeah, I have it. I just can't find the what. This is the different one. The other one was the weird one with the basement. Really, this one is not so bad.
Right. This is
this one's okay.
Yeah.
This one had a nice.
You were the newel post on this one.
Right. This is the one.
This one has a newel post. Right. You can see it.
It's just not that much detail in the drawing. That's all. There isn't a plan. We don't know.
Yeah.
There's another drawing prior to this that has a bit more.
Okay, so we're approving this one as submitted.
Here.
Okay. We won't scold them about it. We say that, and with good reason, that they're going to the commission, so they should have a proper drawing.
Yeah.
Well, the applicant indicated that, they were going to expand the information available on the ironwork before they go to the LPC.
Right. And I don't think we need to say that since it's not.
What's that?
I don't think we need to say that. We don't need to comment on the presentation, just the.
No.
Okay, so we just approve it flat out with whatever we have from before. We're done.
Yes.
Slide out. Well, this is the one that has this.
No, it's the other one that needs the book. Horatio.
Horatio, oh,
We
okay.
moved to 11th Street.
I'm tired tonight, sorry
That's
guys.
okay. It's okay.
My long dentist meeting.
It's a late night last night.
I
Whatever
know.
was said, I couldn't hear.
Farmer's
Changing the
life.
resolution.
No, we're good.
We're good, thank you.
You were content with approving the last one. Was that the final?
Yes.
Yep.
See you on Monday then. Good night, everybody.
Thank
Okay.
you, thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Has anyone been in touch with Andres?
Is it on this?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I know. It's very strange.
I'm just like, hey, I'm coming here. Where are the other people on this committee?
oh, it's that way, okay, if I have.
Wait. Let's end.
Yeah, that's how,